Hello, everyone. So I might, oh, I need to be here. That's way too high.
You have
Okay.
the screen there.
So as you actually position the founder story and the story, let me tell you a bit about myself before I talk about the company. Space Cargo Unlimited is my 8th startup. I started the company now about 11 years ago, and my first startup was when I was 19. I'm 54. I started. I was born in Arcachon in the southwest of France. Near Bordeaux, and my dad was a chef. I grew up in a restaurant, and he was also a geek, and he bought a computer when I was pretty young, and I started to learn how to code then. At 12, I was fortunate to sell one of my piece of software, a small game I did, and make some money out of it. So I thought, that's a cool thing to do, and when I reached 18 after high school, I started a game company. That was the time the game market was very much like the space industry today, emerging when it comes to ancient, large organization. And I felt it was a good potential market. I bet on a couple of things that made the company successful eventually, which was that the game market would be big. It was 150 million at the time, and now it's 350 billion. So it was a good bet. I bet that Mac and Windows would become the dominant home computing system, which was a good bet too, but it wasn't the case at all at the time. And I bet that 3D images would be important, which wasn't the case at the time. It was bitmap. And all these bets made so different ways of building the company. So I started with 4,500 euros. We started doing games out of Bordeaux in the southwest of France. And eventually Apple noticed us, decided to invest in the company when I was 21. And the company grew from €500,000 of sales the year one, 1.5 million the year two, 15 million the year three. At that stage, we had offers of acquisition, and I sold the company to a British media group named Pearson, who owned Penguin Books, TV station, and what have you. That made me a young millionaire. And I didn't see myself as an entrepreneur. I was much more of a geek building stuff and gamer. And I love history, and I love Asia, and I knew nothing about Asia, so I went to China as a holiday for a month, immersing into the country. It was really when China was opening up. And at that stage, I kind of didn't know who I was, what I wanted to do. I was still running the company, even though I didn't own it anymore. And going through family and friends of friends, I discovered that China was a changing country. I discovered there was one kid per family with a growing income from the parents, and that the parents were extremely terrorized about the future and the education of their kids, because China at the time had pretty much killed all the teachers in the Cultural Revolution, and there was no good education system. So there was a great appetite for education. And I basically felt, well, that's interesting, because I have this connection with Pearson and Penguin Books, and they have children books, and maybe that would be of interest. I also realized there were a lot of children book publishers that were coming to us to make digital version of their property, and that was a part of our business. So I actually acquired rights of many children books. And for those French in the room, Père Castor, Incollable, US, Brain Quest. Anyway, I bought all these rights, and I set up a children book publishing house in China, which is fun, because I knew nothing about China, I knew nothing about children books, and nothing about anything, really. And that's when I became an entrepreneur. Long story short, sold over 2 million books, sold the companies, became a bigger millionaire, came back to France, set up a web agency, grew it, sold it to Publicis, a large advertising company, became a even bigger millionaire, bought back my game company. Pearson decided to invest in TV, and at that stage, I guess I thought myself more of an entrepreneur, and I felt this company was 250 employees, could become a bigger organization, and I bought it back, cheaper than I sold it, invest in it, and then we went public. It was in 1999, and in January 2000, I was a billionaire on paper, billionaire. I guess you got to do that once. Cover of the Wall Street Journal, a little drawing and stuff. And you know, my life didn't change much. I just had a jet, and some things were easier, but the company was doing really, really great, and we started to invest massively in online gaming, which was fun, and the future to us. And we didn't raise the funding on the stock market. We started investing and developing and spending money to grow the business, because the stock market will always be there and always growing. Big mistake, the bubble burst, and I never could raise the money. I already had started spending, and eventually we went bankrupt in 2002. And even though I was 1.2 billion worth in 2000, I was 75 million euros in debt when I was 30, 3 years afterwards. So I tell that as an intro, just saying that for those of you who are entrepreneurs, you know, you got the ride ahead of you. It's really pretty demanding, pretty up and down, and pretty exciting, and also depressing, inspiring, and energizing, and horrible and difficult, but still worth the ride. After these moments, it took a few years to put me back on my horse. I was cleared in the legal process of publicly traded company going under. I wrote a book, which is on Amazon, if you want to look my story. Citizen Game, it is. In French, though. Sorry about that. And I started a company in Germany doing data asset management, super successful. We were doing tools that manage all the flow of data that was coming with more 3D, a lot of textures, a lot of bitmaps and stuff. And so we actually won Pixar as a customer. Everything from Ratatouille to the following movies were done with our tools. And eventually we sold the company to Avid, which paid a lot of my debt. And then I went to Korea, became a mentor into one of the early, pretty much the Y Combinator of Korea named Spark Labs, and invested in Korea, started another company in Germany, and so on. So I'll spare you the details, but 7 Startup is a digital marketing company which I sold to Microsoft in 2014. And at that stage, I was back millionaire, not billionaire, but not that the money counts, right? It's a mean to an end. But anyway, it's better to be a millionaire than in debt. And at that stage, I started Space Cargo Unlimited. So it's an interesting prospect, because basically Microsoft had a new CEO at the time named Satya Nadella, which changed completely the Microsoft culture. And they're willing to have leaders in their organization that were entrepreneurs. So they asked me if I was willing to join as an executive at Microsoft. And I said, only one condition: you let me grow my startup on the side, and maybe others, because then I will be actually an entrepreneur, and I will bring entrepreneurship to your organization. And surprisingly, they agreed. So today, I've got 3 lives. I'm actually at Microsoft. I run the space business of Microsoft. So basically, worldwide, we do a SATCOM resiliency program, so anything that helps Microsoft customers to have a digital resiliency. So we publicly known project is Taiwan, for instance. We established Taiwan is exposed to a lot of climate risks, and sometimes we may think that internet could be killed in Taiwan, as well as cellular phones, you know. And so we have a digital resiliency program with Constellation, and we do all the software stack that connects hospitals, fire, police, and we'll be running with our software with Constellation, with our data center in Japan and Australia. So that's one of the product line. The other product line we have is called Planetary Computer, and we actually do a data ingestion from Earth observation satellites, and we use the power of Azure and Azure Space to digest these data, to provide insights to insurance company, to government planning, urban planning, to logistical companies, to agricultural company monitoring their lands, and so on. So that's an exciting business, Azure Space, a part of Microsoft, which I'm delighted to continue to run. And I did this in parallel growing Space Cargo Unlimited, which I'm going to say a few words because I'm going to blow the time and I'm going to be expelled from that stage. I also have a third company named Orbit, which I co-founded with Jason Andrews, who's the space entrepreneur that founded companies such as Spaceflight, Black Sky, which is publicly traded, Leo Stella, Andrew Space, and others. And Orbit is an astronaut training company. We're building a hotel, restaurants, and training facility for commercial astronauts in Cape Canaveral. We have Accor Hotel as a key investor and partner, and we designed the entire thing with Philippe Starck, who is a wonderful designer in France. Check it out, orbitspace.com, if you're interested. As for Space Cargo Unlimited, well, we're building this spacecraft, which is the first space factory for Earth. For 20 years of research on the ISS, basically a lot of research was done showcasing that there were a lot of things that could be done in space in terms of life science, new materials, agriculture, that could not be done on Earth. So you could create high-value product leveraging microgravity and other space parameters to create super high-value product for Earth that would not be possible to create on Earth otherwise. And that's why we say the next industrial revolution will happen in space. Just to give you a few examples, you do an alloy, you merge 2 materials on Earth. The heavier one is going to go down because of gravity. The lighter one goes up. You don't have a perfect alloy. You do the very same thing in space. You have a much better alloy. Electronics, you need vacuum. You need absolute zero. You need energy to make electronic chips. This is available plenty and pretty much very cheap in space. honestly, the most exciting thing is life science. Stem cells grow much faster. You have an amazing set of specific parameters, including there's no convection. So when you crystallize, when you work on crystallization, it's much more manageable and much more effective. So if you do drug development, protein crystallization can be much more effective. So we chose a topic, agriculture, and we grew a first series of vine plants. We basically grew an exciting project. We created a new variety of Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon, more resilient to climate change, because it was exposed to space for 10 months on the ISS. You may have heard of us, because to fund this, we aged 12 bottles of wine on the space station, which we auctioned with Christie's and sold them $1 million a piece, which really bootstrapped the company, because there was no way we could fund this project besides my own money. So we raised by selling these bottles of wine on Christie's. So it was really a very interesting, intriguing way to kick off the company. But eventually we did 3 flights on the ISS, 2 flights on the ISS, 1 suborbital with Blue Origin, and we developed this new variety of vine plants, which we actually, you saw them here, which we actually planted last week, very much to the first customer, which is a large, unannounced yet, Bordeaux winery. And that makes us the only company in the world that has done a privately led in-space manufacturing mission, fully privately funded on the ISS from inception to go-to-market. And I always start my company by starting with a problem. There's so many of us that start a solution and then look for a problem. We like to start with problems. And we realized that none of the vehicles that are available out there were really good for in-space manufacturing. They're all made for astronauts, because that's how you get taxpayer money. If you put Thomas Pesquet or any astronaut with a flag, that's understandable for a lot of the investors, the taxpayers would become the investors. But when you put humans, it's much more expensive and much more difficult and much more demanding, and basically the cost becomes 10 times higher. We need astronauts in space, and it's important in Europe as astronauts. So my good friends of Exploration Company, they're building a vehicle to bring European astronauts to space. So that's pretty cool. But as far as we're concerned, we realize we need automation, and that's what we do, a space factory to rent. We are building this. We're flying it this year. We have 7 flights scheduled, and then we build it out of experience. I won't go too much into details, because I realize they've been really too long, but hopefully interesting. If you have any IOD, IOV, you work in space and you test your hardware, we do that, but we also accommodate pharmaceutical projects, technology project, electronic project, and that's what we do. We have multiple flights scheduled, 1 in H1, waiting for SpaceX to confirm, 2 at the end of the year, 1 European launcher, another SpaceX launch, and 4 missions we're finalizing right there. And we're building this operation in partnership with Atmos, which is a German company doing an inflatable re-entry shield with good friends and partners. So this bento box accommodates 100 kilo of pressurized payload, up to 7 production unit and more payloads. And ultimately, the vehicle we're developing with Thales Alenia Space as a subcontractor, called Rev1, will fly in 28 and will accommodate up to 25 customers. It's 1 ton pressurized, 1,200. So bento box first version with Atmos will fly 2 weeks. Rev1 with Thales Alenia Space will fly 2 months. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great show.
Thank you, Nicolas, for such an inspirational pitch. Thank you. So I will welcome on stage the next one, who is from Ride, and it's Valentin.
Hey everyone, I'm very pleased to be with you. Thank you, Nicolas. Such a pleasure. Thanks, Start Me Up, and thank you, Blas, for the invitation. I'm very pleased to be here with you today. So I'm Valentin. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Ride Space. So we are at some point in the near industry than Space Cargo Unlimited for sure. We are focused on access to space, and we provide the most ultimate launch as a service end-to-end solution for satellite operators. So very concretely, we ally the power of data and software in order to enable the satellite ecosystems with the access to online platforms that allows direct orders and direct booking to more than 35 launch providers. So you know Booking.com, you know Uber, It's very similar, but in space industry. For on one side, the supplier of launch, which are SpaceX, espace, and other players all around the world. And on the other side, the demand for such transport and space access. So mostly small sat operator, new space constellation, and small sat manufacturers. So this is the first part of our business. The second part of our business is to deliver the launch campaign for our clients. So long story short, when you sign a launch contract, you have quite a huge amount of work to comply with in order to be able and authorized to launch, from regulatory topics to integration, mechanical topics, overall logistics and pre-launch pad operations. So we have a team of mission managers that will cover all these aspects for the clients to ensure they are to be on time, authorized to be launched on the launch vehicles. So from constellation planning to fairing integrations, we cover each and every part from the launch management. We are a 15 people company based in Paris and in Bordeaux. We are really believing in the alliance of data and AI, basically, with the experience of our mission management services and integration skills. So at the end of the day, we have signed more than 10 master agreements with launch providers. SpaceX is part of them for sure. We are launching on a quarterly basis satellites from India, from China, from US. So as an example, in 3 days, we have like 10 satellites on transport of 14 SpaceX missions for a total mass of 700 kilograms. And we get overall up to 20% of savings on total cost of ownership of launch for our clients, and approximately like 3 months of optimization of the lead time for the launch campaign in the access to space. So this is a massive gain in every aspect of the launch topics, and at the end of the day, we speed the access to space, we speed the market access for our clients, and at the end of the day, sorry, it's all about their financial impact, because most of the time, launch are related to a future fundraising. So the sooner they launch, the better they fundraise, the better the fundraise, the better they can deploy the visions and be a massive player at a global scale. So that's all about RIDE in a nutshell. So over the past 4 years, we have achieved a massive milestone in our development. I will focus a little bit more now on the RIDE journey and then on my journey, but RIDE is a 4-year-old company. So first year was mostly dedicated to user discovery, market, like product market fit mostly. As you can imagine, space is a quite, I'd say, conservative industry in some way. So providing a software that digitalizes the relationship, that get direct access to launch provider in a very sensitive, very confidential environment was a key challenge. So we spent more than a year to adapt the product market fit, to develop the first MVP, and basically to also start to have the mindset of our player changing. I will always remember that during the first months of RIDE back in 2021, some players told me that never, ever, espace will publish its manifest, will publish its data. And a few months later, we signed a master agreement with Stéphane Israel. So they were actually very open to that. Also because they face a high competitive environment. SpaceX has an open manifest online. Rocket Lab was one of the preliminary and pioneers actors to also provide a 3D fairing interface to plug online your satellite to design the fairing configuration within the rocket. So they see this changing, and as any industry, even if it's a heavy industry, the space will face this deviation, the space will have to adapt to this. So the first year has been a big challenge. We were like 2 in an office in Paris. It was not a garage like in the Silicon Valley, but it was a flat in the 9th district, actually. So it was very fun, actually. It's the easiest part, and the funniest part, the product discovery, the user discovery, discussing with client. You have no constraint. You don't have to commit to anything or to engage to deliver anything. So it was very fun. Second year has been very focused now on once the MVP was there and the first touch point, and basically the main hypothesis of the product market fit has been validated. We've been having our first clients. Our 2 first clients were CNES and a French company in France called Mecanoide, together with Emeria, to launch a 30-kilogram satellite on Vega C. So we work very hard on the commercialization of our solutions, both on getting user acquisition on the platform and of course on building trust with our clients. Because what I always say is that we are trust managers with our clients. We mitigate the risk for them. It's all about the risk mitigations. When you launch a spacecraft, you have plenty of risk up in there, from technical risk to financial risk to planning risk. And as a third party, which is super connected with more than 3,500 providers, as a third party, which has a now high experience in launch topic management, it's all about this. But at the beginning, you have no heritage or no track record. So it's an infinite loop. You need clients to get track record, and you need track record to get clients. And you can be stuck like in a wheel like that, like in an hamster in a wheel. So based on this first client, which were a big name also in the industry, we gain more and more clients to achieve year 3. And year 3 was basically 2023, 2024, mid-2023, mid-2024. It was the time for delivering the launch campaign for our clients. So that's where the fun starts, but that's also where the real problem starts. So you can be sure that a launch campaign is a roller coaster. You can anticipate a lot of stuff, but there's always some stuff happening with the customs, for example, which is not always the funniest part, but it has to be taken into consideration with, for example, last-minute refueling on the launch pad or such activities that need to be as much as possible anticipated, but you have to be super reactive on site. So we have delivered for the last year like up to 6 launch. So we have been the first company to sign 6 launch agreements with 6 different solution providers worldwide. So we have signed with Ariane 6. We were on the maiden launch on Ariane 6 back in July. We have signed several times with SpaceX for Transporter 10, 11, and 12 last year. We've been the first company ever to sign a private contract with a Chinese launch vehicle, Space. So here you can see our teams in Guangzhou starting the integration process of our satellite with the Chinese private actors. We have also signed 2 launch with OTV, orbital transfer vehicles. So maybe for the non-space related people, OTV are a space taxi at some point. So they are plugged into the rocket, and they embark some satellite on top of their system. So once they are released, they ignite the engines of the OTVs, orbital transfer vehicle, and they can display up and there on a very precise orbit some clients. So we have launched 2 times with OTVs last year, and the last agreement with PSLV in India. And now we are at the phase of the scalability from our business. Am I running out of time, or I have a few minutes? Okay, I'll be quick. So this year is all about scaling our business. So now we are getting better and bigger. We are targeting constellation deployment, which bring also more complexity. In a way that we have to be multi-plan, so we have to launch several plans, orbital plans on several rockets all together to have a perfect mapping of constellation. So that's what we do at the moment. We have signed a deal with the Iridae constellation in Italy to deploy like 10 plus satellites. And we are also getting bigger in terms of satellite size. We have recently signed an agreement for 2 satellites of 250 kilograms. So it's quite heavy in the small sat ecosystem, I would say. All right, so that's it for RIDE. We are fully profitable, and we are only focused on organic growth. So we don't fundraise, which is at some point a specificity into the space ecosystem and into the startup ecosystem, I would say. So we only focus on client money to base our development, which has good side and sometimes bad side, actually. So the good side is that we are only focused on the client needs and focus on business. The bad side that sometimes when you don't sell enough, you don't have enough money to invest in the cash flow. But so far we are doing great with this strategy. And very quickly speaking of myself, I don't have as many good stories as Nicolas has, unfortunately for you guys. But I have a few maybe in my pocket. So I'm 31. RIDE is my 3rd company. I have founded 2 previously company before 2021. The first one was in a luxury event in Paris. So I've co-founded with Alain Flelou family luxury event in Paris for a private event in the best monument of Paris. So I've run the company for a year and a half. And then I funded another business in the blockchain. So the pitch was quite clear to implement MVP and proof of concept of blockchain together with a big group. So we had some first contract with Sony Music. We have first contract with in some luxury brand for traceability of goods and of their mostly their product. We have also few topics with the insurance company and smart contract. But long story short, the company didn't make it. So the product market fit was not strong enough, I would say. Even now, I guess blockchain is still starting to find its market. So I don't have any space background actually. I got a business administration background. But yeah, during COVID, since a lot of, like a lot of people, I got plenty of time, and that was the right time to focus on one of my passions, which is space for sure. So as far as I can remember, since I'm a child, space is clearly one of my hobby and readings and everything. So it was the right time to launch Ride. And yeah, so I just took my phone and called a lot of company, a lot of people. Nicolas was one of them in the early days, but I got some call with SpaceX at the very beginning of our discussion and of the company creation to exactly understand what was going on in new space. And here we are 4 years later. All right, thank you for your attention, guys.
Thank you, Valentin. Thanks. Okay, great. Wow, what inspiration for everyone. I will come on stage the last but not least, Erwan from Metal 3D. Yeah, so here you go, and you can go through the slide with this. Yes.
Hello, everyone. So what can I say after that? My story is less impressive, but okay, I guess interesting. So I'm the founder of Metal 3D. I'm doing simulation for additive manufacturing. So what does it mean? Everything is in the title. So Metal 3D, sim for simulation, metal for metal, and 3D for 3D printing. A couple of slides to show what is 3D printing, what you can do with that. On your left, you can see a part printed with direct metal deposition. The material is printed. The material is melted on the fly. I mean, is deposited on the part. And on the left side, on the right side, it is a powder bed process. A part print with powder bed process. The bed of powder bed is printed on the part, on the substrate, and melted with a laser, and the part is built layer per layer. You can check, you can see the detail of the internal structure, cooled channel, and this is typically the type of part which is printing with powder bed process. So it is really nice, but it is really complex to manage and to master, and this is why simulation can help here. So this is my skill and my expertise. So why using simulation? Simulation is used to de-risk the process, to anticipate the potential failures, the hotspots, and everything which could make the process failed, actually. So this type of process is really expensive, so it's better to anticipate, to reduce cost and failure, and to at least also optimize the process parameter. So my activities is split in 2 parts. Software distribution. I'm distributing Additive Lab, which is a software dedicated to simulation, which cover both polar bed and direct metal deposition. And I'm doing also studies for industrial, like Safran and Vallourec. I can do training, but up to now it didn't happen really. And my target industry are all industry interested by 2D printing, aeronautics, space, transportation, oil and gas like Vallourec, naval and nuclear. And my objective is to become the leading design office in additive manufacturing simulation. So it's quite ambitious. How and when I started, actually, it's more personal now. So I was always in manufacturing simulation. I defended my PhD in 1991, a long time ago. And up to 2021, I was working on development for manufacturing, stamping, composite forming, and from 2019, additive manufacturing simulation. Unfortunately, COVID crisis came and economic plan after that. And the winner was myself. I was laid off of my previous company, so I was a little bit disappointed, but I didn't really lose time. I did a skill assessment, and on August 2021, I met Additive Lab, and I proposed them to develop their business in France. To do that, I needed to reach an incubator, because I could not really create a company at that time. So I spent a couple of time to look for this incubator, and finally I joined one in December 2021, PCE for Provence Côte d'Azur Enterprise. And okay, so I started really in December 2021, and in January 2022 I created the brand Metal 3D, and this is how it started. It's a really long cycle. I did a lot of development. The time to make me now on the market. My activity really started recently in last July 2024 with first studies for Pint, Safran, and recently Valorec for direct metal deposition. So it's a really long time, and you have to be patient if you want to create your activity in that field. What are my challenges actually? When you create a company, everything is challenging, absolutely everything. All your life is challenging. So first challenge is gaining visibility on the field. You start from scratch, you are totally unknown, so it takes time to be known and etc. So another challenge is to compete with other companies who are well known on the market and with decades of development on that side. So you are an independent, but you are facing with big companies who are doing the same thing as you. Another challenge is to convince industry to work with an independent, which is not always easy. It is suspicious where he's coming from. What is that guy? Could you really help us? So, but it's possible. And another challenge is remaining positive and keeping focus whatever happens. Sometimes it is disappointed, it is discouraging, and success is not always there. So remaining focusing and staying focused and remaining positive is another challenge actually. What about failure and successes? Failure, I cannot speak about failure really right now. It's more about disappointment. First one is sales cycle is really, really long. The time between the first contact and the sales is at least 1 year, sometimes 2 years. So you have to be really patient and to be persistent and I forgot the other term, but it's really, really long. Another disappointment is to be able to take part to industrial research project. It's really important to develop the software and to be known and recognized. So, but as an independent, it's not easy to be part of this research project. I'm not a big company, and again, it takes time. And I would like also to increase studies and development activities, which bring more money and which is bring more satisfaction than just selling a license. A couple of success is coming, I would say, with two successful collaboration with Safran Transmission System and Safran Aero Booster. They are printing a big heat exchanger with a lot of issues with thermal behavior and material behavior. So I work with them with success, so I hope it will continue. Another success is Valorec, which signed off for a license recently, so I'm working daily with them, so it's really interesting. It's about direct metal deposition for big part, massive part. And I'm starting to be invited there and there to present my activity, and recently for the AFH Day. AFH platform is a big platform with partner owned by the city, and it is nice to be there to present my activities, a sort of recognition. At the end of the day, what is driving my journey, I would say, first is the passion for this field, additive manufacturing, and space in general also, because space is a driver for additive manufacturing as well. Feeling to contribute to something bigger, to a sort of revolution, industrial revolution. Additive manufacturing is the fourth industrial revolution, I would say. And constantly learning from expert and professional, which is really interesting also. Another driver is to push my limits, which is also challenging to be on the race all the time, and the impression and the satisfaction to drive my own career also as an independent. To finish, this is my last slide. If I have a couple of advice to give you, if you want to create your own company, and the first one is to work with passion, and to don't stay alone and build a strong network, because it's really important to have experts around you. Stay focused on your business. Don't work on a lot of things. Just stay focused and try to adapt also, because they are up and down, and you have to adapt your path depending on the market also. And don't forget to find time for yourself. Try to sleep also, because it's hard work and sometimes you just forgot to sleep. Take time for yourself, make sport, and take time with your family and friends. When you are an entrepreneur, it's not easy to be there to be everywhere. And I would say at the end, just stay strong in the storm, because everything can happen, and sometimes it's not easy to keep cool and to keep patient. So that's it for my path and my journey. Thank you. I would like to add that I'm part of France Additive and Fabal Academy. France Additive is a network which promotes additive manufacturing in France. So just take a look to the website. There are a lot of information. And there is a forum in July, 1 to 3 July in Strasbourg, with a lot of presentation on additive manufacturing, etc. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Erwan, for your pitch.